Axonius Federal Systems gives federal agencies the confidence to control complexity by mitigating threats, navigating risks, automating response times, and complying with federal cybersecurity guidelines. AFS is the only federal solution available that integrates with hundreds of sources to provide asset observability. Hello from Omaha. My name is Ross John Fortuna, and I'm recording from DoDIIS 2024, where national security officials are talking about the future of integrated defense through IT superiority. Joining me now is Mark Chatelain, CIO of the National Geospatial-Intelligence Agency. Welcome.
Thanks, Ross. I appreciate it.
So Vice Admiral Whitworth yesterday talked about AI, saying that the future is multimodal for NGA. What does that look like for the future of NGA operations?
So when he talks about multimodal capabilities, it's basically using AI, and specifically right now, it's pretty much exercising models and algorithms to be able to extract features out of imagery and to be able to provide things for the three major areas of our focus in targeting, warning, and support to our policymakers.
So what does that look like for NGA's operations going forward? Like, how will it revolutionize the way that NGA operates?
So over the next 8 to 10 years, we anticipate a 1,100% growth in the data that we accumulate on a regular basis. Daily, our take will go up 1,100%. So 11 times the data that we receive today is what we will be expecting in the year 2030. So by 2030, that data will actually not be able to be viewed by our analysts. Again, one of our directors has anticipated it would take close to 3 million analysts to be able to look at all the data by the year 2030. So we've got to have something else to look at that data. And I think AI is a way of us doing that.
Yeah, I know the notion that we can't man our way out of this, human our way out of this. I know you had mentioned that yesterday during the CIO panel. But that leads me well into the notion that geospatial intelligence and geospatial data is exploding. There's so much of it. And I know NGA is investing in AI to get that implemented. How are you engaging with the private sector to work in concert to get all this stuff labeled, properly managed?
So we're working closely with our industry partners. It's really important that they play a role in what we're doing. One of the contracts that our director mentioned yesterday, the Sequoia contract, which is in the process of going through source selection. Again, it's about data labeling. It's about taking the vast amount of data that we have and going through and having people label the data to say, this is an airplane, this is a ship, this is a truck. So be able to teach these algorithms exactly how to identify those specific things. Once we have those data models and those algorithms developed, then we can apply it to the data that we collect on a regular basis.
How do you manage all of that, with the labeling and everything? But how is that managed throughout the intelligence community, not just within NGA?
So again, we have libraries. We have both on-premises libraries that provide access to the data. We also have cloud storage. Right now, we have petabytes of information stored in the cloud that we have access to on a regular basis. Some of the older imagery that we've collected over the past 30 or 40 years is stored in the cloud. We have the obligation to store that information and keep it, and we can pull that data out if we need to access it.
You mentioned yesterday that NGA has to have things, because you just talked about in the cloud and the data center, but you also have to have things on the edge, and these things got to move around. How do you keep all that data secure?
So our security, basically, we have multiple layers of security, basically controlling access to the data. We verify everyone who has a need to know and a right to know that data, have access to it. But again, we have strict cybersecurity rules placed across all of our systems to enable access to those networks and to the data.
How do you work with, again, with the rest of the IC to sort of keep that security interoperable, I guess I would say, because, the data is not useful if someone else can't read it.
So we have services of common concern across the intelligence community where we provide a service such as our identity access and credential management service, where basically anyone throughout the IC if they are entitled to see the data, they're allowed to see the data, and it's processed through this mechanism.
I want to go back to AI and ask about responsible AI, because I know the GeoInt AI models pilot has been created. How is that going to help in making sure that NGA does things responsibly, ethically, and make sure everything's above board?
So that's the first thing that we're establishing with our AI program. We basically have the responsibility to make sure that any artificial intelligence we use is managed by people in the loop. We don't allow the artificial intelligence, the algorithms, to basically process things without having a human in the loop to verify that those algorithms are working correctly, are continuously working correctly, and that they're not being basically redirected to other mechanisms.
How does that sort of factor with the threat actors trying to bang in and mess with the bad data that could train the algorithms?
Again, it's part of our continuous evaluation associated with these algorithms. So we never let an algorithm sit there and run by itself and never pay attention to it. We're always continuously evaluating the performance of algorithms, performance of how they're detecting things, so that we can be assured that they're actually producing the results that we need and expect.
We talked about multimodal AI. That's a mouthful. And what are the sort of other aspects of the future of geospatial intelligence data? How do you see that looking forward for NGA and how it works?
So one of the things that we are just beginning to go through and figure out how to implement on our systems is large language models. Again, large language models will give our analysts the ability to search through products, to search through information, and then use that information to make their assessments. And again, so large language models, think of it as if you use Copilot or ChatGPT right now, you can ask it a question in natural language. It will come back and give you information. You can clarify that information. Our analysts don't have that doing their daily intelligence work. So implementing these large language models will give our analysts the ability to do that. One of the things that I've seen demonstrated here at this conference is a large language model that allows our supervisors to do performance appraisals and performance planning. And again, we spend a lot of time doing performance appraisals, establishing, again, performance requirements for our employees without the assistance of a large language model. If we have something like that, it can cut down the amount of time and make them much more appropriate for our employees. And so that's something in the very near future.
I know a big conversation around artificial intelligence and machine learning is the idea that you get the people away from the tedious things and get them into the more important things. I imagine at NGA that's a lot of analysis. That's a lot of making sure that things are correct.
Well, again, using artificial intelligence, large language models or computer vision and things like that will take those tedious things away from the analyst, and the analyst can actually focus on doing some of those real hard things that they have to do in looking at the data and looking at the results and making assessments that only a human can make on that particular data.
Yeah, that certainly is the future as is happening now. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to mention?
Again, I really appreciate your focus on security, not only security of our models, security of our artificial intelligence, but security across our enterprise is of paramount importance. And one of the things we're beginning to do and push through is establishing a zero trust. So we've been basically given a requirement from the Department of Defense as well as the intelligence community to implement a zero trust model. It's not an application. It's not just a one solution. It's a whole mindset across the board. It basically, one of our folks here actually did a presentation, and the bottom line is we have got to build safer doors, not higher walls around our systems.
Yeah, I know zero trust. I've heard zero trust is a journey, zero trust is a mindset, zero trust is a culture. But I really like the safer doors analogy. That's really good.
That kind of encapsulates it for me.
Yeah, it works really well. All right, well, thanks so much for doing this, and thanks for being on with us.
Thank you very much, Ross. I appreciate it.
This podcast was a production of GovCIO Media and Research. If you like what you heard, please leave a 5-star rating and review on the podcast platform of your choice. And don't forget to tell a friend or colleague. To explore the rest of our content, visit our website, govciomedia.com. Do you have a topic you want us to discuss? Contact us at newsletter@govcio.com. I'm Ross John Fortuné.